For this episode, we want to give a shout out to Ben with Creefall Bagel Company. Creefall Bagel Company is boiling and baking fresh sourdough bagels every morning. They're located in Creefall at 4825 Trousdale Drive, Suite 228. Go check them out. Welcome to another episode of the Nashville Dads. This week we have on Gabe Vitek. We talk about trains, the switch from music to real estate, knowing your inner critic, and centering yourself. We hope you enjoy.
I guess I don't know how close Czechoslovakia is to Iceland. Maybe, I don't know, a couple thousand miles.
I think it'd be kilometers.
Oh, yeah. So you're Czech?
Czech heritage, yeah. Although I've never been, I need to get over there.
That's pretty cool.
And see what's happening. But Czech last name, first name, I think my parents were doing acid at some point that
nice.
they wouldn't admit to me directly about. But Gabram, from what I'm told, it was like a character in a book, and I can't even tell you the name of the book. So these are the questions surrounding the actual context of when they named me. But it's like Abram with a G. Couple like Gabriel and Abram, like biblical names.
Yeah.
That's it. Your mom was like, "This call him Abram," and your dad was like, "This call him Gabriel." And they said it at the same time, and they both were too stubborn to admit they missed each other.
And he'll have superpowers.
That's right.
And that's not at all what happened.
No, not at all. Are you from Ohio? Is that right?
Yeah, I grew up in Ohio, a small town called Bryan, which is in the northwest corner of the state. I think it essentially started as like an Amtrak stop, which is kind of a nice amenity now. Like we actually just went up there for Thanksgiving, and my wife and I, Crystal, used Amtrak. We jetted into Chicago for a few days.
Oh, nice.
Our kids stayed with my parents there in Bryan.
So where did you start out at?
When we went
for the
recently.
Amtrak.
Yeah. So we drove up from here
to Chicago,
to Bryan, and we
dropped.
We dropped the kids off with my parents, and then the next morning
jumped on the train
in.
Because I was actually looking into doing that, like some type of small little, I don't know, 2-hour thing if I could find on Amtrak. Because Haley is not sure about doing something like that because of motion sickness. So I was like, I want to do something small, check it out, and then we could do something like fairly large.
I think a lot of times, too, with people that have, like, motion sensitivity, I think if you're seated forward, like, you're okay, because sometimes on a train, you have where you're seated backwards, and you're going backwards. It's 80 miles an hour, and I think that kind of throws people off. But, maybe if she's seated forward, that would help.
All right. Try it.
Now, I don't know if this was just specific to our route, but I want to say it was like 70% of the other people on the train were Amish.
What?
Really?
Okay, so there was this.
That's cool.
Yeah,
there was a guy that sat Amish convention going on or something.
And this was so intriguing too because I kind of got a little insight on like how Amish people make logistic plans.
Yeah,
because like they don't have phones. So this guy's like, "Hey, man, like, do you have a cell phone?" And I was like, yeah, I do. And he was like, can I call someone and try to arrange for someone to pick us up, like at the stop they were headed to? And so I was like, of course, man. And he pulls out this notebook, out of his coat pocket that he made. I mean, all their clothes are awesome. I got to get some of these threads. They're lifelong, they're so awesome. Pulls out the notepad, and he's got 3 names of guys that are in this town that are like the designated Amish pickup guy. It's like one of their roles of the community is like, I'm the guy that goes to the train station and picks up whoever's coming in. So he calls, the first couple of guys are just booked solid. Like, sorry, man, like my wagon, only has room for 2, and I'm booked all day tomorrow, like on the pickups.
Yeah.
And so I could tell he was getting nervous coming up to the last remaining number out of 3. He's like, 5 a.m.'s coming up here in about 6 hours. I got to figure out this pickup. And that guy, he was available to pick him up, maybe 15 minutes after they had gotten there. and then the rest of the ride, I could tell he just melted into his seat, and he was sleeping 30 minutes later. But yeah, it was intriguing just to see like that setup where it's like the trust system and just like the identified roles of the communities working together was so cool. It's awesome.
Interesting.
Makes me realize how many control issues I have because I would have already had all of that figured out.
Oh, man.
Exactly, I don't really want to land somewhere and be like, how do you get to where you sleep? I don't know where I'm sleeping tonight. Like all of that. I'm like, no, I got to have some basic, like, where do I sleep? Where do I eat? Are like the first 2 questions I have in most rooms, like.
Yes. You got to have those checked off.
At least a little bit.
Mine is usually, where's the bathroom?
It's like I probably have to pee, so just go and tell me where it is. So, that's fair.
It's funny, but it's true. Yeah. That is.
No.
Yeah.
Be like, are there snacks? I don't know.
No.
Maybe. Hopefully.
Where can I pee?
Yeah, where can I pee? I've got to refill my water bottle. Where's the toilet?
Yeah, exactly.
But how long of a train ride was it?
It was 3 hours.
Okay.
That's a nice little run. I think we probably stopped maybe 10 times, and they have the little concession car, which is cool to go through the line and get M&Ms or a beer if you want one. And
was it a long line?
It actually was. Well,
that's what I've heard.
Not in capacity. Like I feel like there was maybe only 10 people in front of me, but for whatever reason, it takes like a while for those 10 people to make it through. Yeah. And then, once you get your food, it's like a one-way street for people. It's very confined, like 2 feet wide.
Yeah. And
so you order and you get our food, and then you're like carrying food for yourself and maybe your family members or whoever is traveling with you back through the line, and there's soda spilling on your jacket and a couple popcorn kernels in your pocket that you scored. Hold you over till you get up there. Yeah. But yeah, there's something about the congestivity of that part of the line that slows it up.
Yep. I was reading, so many people had commented on like it takes forever to get out of that line and get your food. It's like, oh man, just bring your own food is what I'm going to do next.
Yeah. And there's really, I don't think anyone checked our bags at all. Like,
you
bring whatever you want.
To? Oh, okay.
Sure. Have you really been looking into train travel?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I want to do it.
You do?
Yeah. I want to go on a longer one eventually to where like over in Europe.
Yeah.
During wintertime in the snow, like I think that'd be awesome. And do an overnight to where you have like your own bed and your own room and everything. I think that'd be so cool.
That would be sweet.
You do have to end up near like bigger cities. Like I've done it only once. Like flew into Manhattan and took the train to Boston. So I think it was like a 4-hour train ride or something like that. But you go through you go through like all of the New England area basically.
That's so cool.
And you arrive in like the train station in downtown Boston.
That's awesome.
It's pretty legit. Yeah, you're just kind of like, oh, cool. This is pretty cool to be able to do this.
I wish Nashville had something. I think the closest one is Memphis.
You're the one researching trains.
Yeah. But yeah, Nashville doesn't even have one.
You could always go down, like Chattanooga has like a train that goes to the top of the mountain. That's like a dinner train or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I think they're working on getting Amtrak in Chattanooga. So that would be, I don't know, a little closer, 45 minutes closer in a car maybe.
Chattanooga's a cool place.
It is.
Yeah.
Let's just discuss American infrastructure. Or lack of, because we're all very veteran in this realm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Gabe, how long have you been here?
Coming up on 20 years.
20 years? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I think I moved here, fall of 2005. So getting there on the 20-year mark.
Yeah.
It's definitely been an evolution of a city, that's for sure, in that short amount of time.
Yep. I moved in 2008, and you were...
06.
06.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, what we've seen is total chaos to me, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be busting at the seams a little bit.
Yep.
And I grew up Bryan was a very rural setting, and so I think a lot of me intrinsically is kind of always pulling back to something a little bit more, have more breathing room per se, and the growth has a lot of benefits for sure. A lot of things I enjoy a lot, but also a lot of just strains, as well. Yep. I think I'm spending 5 or 6 hours in my car every day.
Oh man,
which is a bit much.
Yeah. 5 to 6 hours?
Yeah.
A day.
I mean,
and you do real estate as your main gig, right?
yeah. And so in the real estate space, I mean, my car is kind of my office.
Yeah.
I don't have a, one way to do real estate is to have this team and kind of delegate all that out. And I'm either just not smart enough to know how to do that, or, I just kind of wanted to keep it a little bit more personal, I guess. So I'm still kind of running all the facets of the gig, which I enjoy, but it does keep me in my car a lot because so much of it is just, touring property.
Yeah.
So
do you work alone or do you have a group?
yeah, so I do work alone. Yeah.
Okay.
And I have my go-to, I guess, kind of third-party vendors, like my go-to attorney at the same title office that, handles all the title searches of the property and closes the actual contract. And then I have my go-to home inspectors and my go-to, lenders if someone's, needing to finance a portion of the purchase. But as far as like the brokerage side of thing, yeah, I'm just working just with myself.
Okay.
Which has been a great, again, like I just really enjoy like having a touch on all the parts of the process. So it's kept it pretty personal, which has been fun. And I've actually just garnered a lot of new friends out of the process too, that have been referred to me, and we end up just keeping in touch and hanging, and families are getting together. So that's a fun part of it.
That's awesome. And like you get to probably, I guess, in between showings, probably, what do you do? Just hang out, or do you go back to your house, see the fam?
Yeah.
Always been interested in that.
There's not a whole lot of consistent routine, which I'm okay with. I mean, I've always kind of been a free-spirited, go with the flow kind of person anyway. So yeah, if I'm not out, engaging with a client face-to-face, either on property tours or, precursors to that would be sitting down with that person and kind of, setting a vision for what exactly their pursuit is, and me helping fine-tune what that is. Then usually back at the house, if it's, during the workflow day, I'm probably working on some sort of admin job, just paperwork or tightening things up around one of the deals I'm working on. And if I'm lucky, and if I'm kind of through some of those things and I don't have anything to check off the task list, I'm probably either making music in my home studio or out on a hike somewhere, just getting some fresh air and seeing some trees. But those are fleeting moments these days, because I've got, our youngest, Modley, he's 4, so he's in school from 9 to 2 right now. So that's a window. And so if I have free time after 2 and he's at home, I'm usually trying to engage with him a little bit.
Okay.
So, and then Dahlia's home at 3. So
And how old is she?
She's 6, so 6 and 4.
Awesome.
Yeah. Dad life.
Yeah.
Life, man.
Dad life's for real.
It's funny because, you're like, okay, they'll be gone from 9 until 2. I'll get some stuff done. And it's like, well, actually, realistically, you get home at like 9:30, and really, you're probably leaving your house at like 1:30 to go pick them up. So, and you also need to eat lunch.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like there's staying home with kids. I used to do like I would watch someone's friend's kid on one day, and then they watch my kid on the other day. So I'd have like a morning. And you like make all these plans for what to do in that 4-hour span and do like one thing.
Yes.
And then be like, do I feel guilty, or is this just my reality that I'm overambitious? So you learn how to figure it out. But like, I feel like it took me like a month or 2 of overinflated expectations before I figured it out.
You gotta dial it in, man.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I guess, like the kid drop off is probably one consistent in my daily routine. So I'll take Dahlia into school. We'll leave the house at 7:30, and she's got to be there at 8. And that's the one thing I do every day, Monday through Friday. And then after that, it kind of changes from day to day. A lot of times I'm grabbing a coffee with someone in the morning, or just straight into property tours. And then my wife, Crystal, will take our son, Modley, in at 9. And a lot of times she'll pick both kids up. Sometimes I'll pick up one or both of them as well, because my afternoon can kind of flow state into, I'm still in the middle of a couple of different projects. So,
do you do commercial or residential for real estate?
Mostly residential.
Okay.
I have done some commercial.
Yeah.
I worked with a restaurant group last year. And I've worked with like a gym, like a fitness center. So done a couple leases.
Yeah.
And this year I teamed up with a buddy of mine that does mostly commercial, and we listed 14 just vacant land parcels all over the state. And some had some kind of mixed zoning where it was partially commercial and partially residential. So he brought me in to kind of help some of the properties that were mostly residential. So that's been a fun project. That's been one of the more challenging projects because these land parcels are just in towns I had never even heard of in Tennessee. I've never been to any of these towns that these parcels are in. So we've just been like two detectives looking through tax records and who owns these adjoining properties like right next door, and we're calling like that guy's nephew who gives us a number for someone at like the local AutoZone who gives us a number for. Finally, we get to the guy. We're like, "Hey, man, do you want to buy this property that's right beside the property you already own?" And we've gotten, I think, half of them sold in that manner.
That's awesome.
So you've got like a weird conspiracy board in your house where you start at the top, which is the parcel, and then you start spreading it around.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's definitely felt like somewhat of a FBI gig.
Yeah. I think real estate is fascinating because I didn't know how many, like, it's like when you talk to a lawyer and they're like, by the way, this is what type of law I do. And I'm like, I didn't even know there's specialties. Like, so I feel like the first time I heard someone be like, I do residential real estate. I was like, what's the other one? Commercial? Oh, I have no idea what those words mean. Cool. I'll just smile and nod and hope I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Same license for both. And I think it's just kind of like, your network and your interests just kind of steer you into what you enjoy and, what comes most naturally for you.
Yeah.
So.
For the residential, do you get like these wild out of the ballpark type requests? I'm a stay-at-home dog sitter that only works 2 days a week, but I have I need $1 million house or something like that.
Yeah, where someone is like, here's what I want. How much do you make? Oh, I'm unemployed.
Yeah. Yeah. That
you
does
can rent
happen.
out a closet.
Yeah. I think that's one of the most important parts, the process is just kind of like listening to the vision and kind of seeing, looking into the reality and how closely do those, come together? Like, where is the intersection between the vision and the reality? And so that's what a lot of the time, and energy goes into at the beginning for me, especially if I'm working with, someone that's trying to buy something. Mm-hmm. Just really trying to listen pretty intently to what that vision is. And then also for me, like just trying to ask a lot of questions about like the type of home they grew up in. And, I'm not trying to like get into the personal lives and the relationships that they had with their parents, but like the actual archetype of the house and like what they liked most about it, because I think a lot of that works into the decision making, like on a subconscious level of like what you end up in, and if it doesn't match a lot of that, like I think a lot of those people transition more quickly. So just doing some digging there and fine tuning that vision up front.
I've noticed that before of like people I grew up with. I go to their houses now as adults and I'm like, this is the exact layout of your parents' house. Do I say that to you or do I not say? Is that a cool thing or not cool thing? So it's that like almost like subconscious like brain waves have been like, this is what safety and normal feels like.
Yes,
so this is what I'm going to look for in a house.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that working behind the scenes, for people. So it's important.
Yeah, for me, I kind of went the opposite way.
Really?
My parents lived in just a strictly residential. It was a really nice neighborhood. It was like voted one of the safest neighborhoods in America like 20, 30 years ago or so. But that's all it really had. And they were all like cookie cutter houses, and I was like, all right, I do not want that.
Yeah.
I want something that's got some character to it that no other house has.
What do you do for fun with your kids?
Yeah.
I know you do gymnastics. That's how we reconnected.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, what do you guys do for fun with your kids?
Man, we've got a backyard that we're in quite a bit. We've got a tree house back there.
Oh,
that
fun.
just recently put together. And so we're back there playing in the tree house. We've got a little bamboo patch back there. And as simple and silly as this is, one of their favorite activities is for me just to cut a bamboo rod down and just kind of make a circular motion and throw that thing up and down in the air, and they just kind of sprint and dive under it and try for it to not to hit them.
Okay.
So, things generally outside is the setting we like to be.
Yep.
But yeah, Modley, he's kind of a nature boy, and so he can go back there and just gaze out and be in his own world for, I don't know, an hour or two at a time. Dahlia's a little bit more like, okay, I've been here, done that, need something else. What else is coming next?
Yeah.
But yeah, we like to get out and travel with them. We last year we did a little excursion down to Costa Rica and got into the jungle.
Oh, wow.
For a little bit with them. And
how'd they like that?
They were just butt naked outside, enjoying every second of it every day.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I was right in the jungle. I think as soon as our car stopped in the driveway of the little shack that we were renting, it was just like no clothes the rest of the trip. So very free spirited.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, they're great, man. It's fun hanging with them.
Cool.
For sure.
And you guys met at gymnastics, so
We reconnected at gymnastics.
Reconnected.
Reconnected.
No, yeah.
What age was Dahlia when she started gymnastics?
I think she was 5.
5.
And so, she's a 2-year vet, gymnastics vet.
Nice.
We need to get her back in there. We've taken a little hiatus, maybe
Gotcha.
4 or 5 month hiatus, but yeah, she has so much body control and self-awareness physically that, something like gymnastics she makes it look easy.
Yeah.
Modley is also somewhat coordinated, not quite. I gave him gene-wise my huge noggin. I have a really big head, and Modley does as well. And I think, I have to help him put his shirt on over the head because, that thing is just
stretch out the neck.
Stretch out the neck on the shirts. So I think the head is like he's grown into his head. So once that happens, the gymnastics will come a little bit more naturally.
Did you grow up playing any sports or anything?
I grew up playing baseball. Yeah, baseball was big in my fam. And Modley has been pulling this. I have this Chipper Jones book.
Nice.
Some just 90s icon.
Yeah.
And he's been pulling that off the shelf and cruising through the pictures. So he might be ready to go crush a few off the tee here in the spring. We'll have to see. But yeah, baseball was really big in my family. My brother ended up, playing professionally actually for the Red Sox for a little while.
Nice.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah. He got drafted out of college and spent, I think, maybe 5 years working through the farm system, and then some injuries took him out of the game. But yeah, baseball was big, man.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to remember, because I follow sports quite a bit. Of the people who actually play professionally and start every single game are like freaks of nature.
Yeah.
It's like, Steph Curry. He's kind of a freak of nature that he is as physically talented as he is and has been playing for the Warriors for a decade now, more than a decade.
Yeah.
So if your brother even played in the farm system, it's that means you're still a really good athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just the resilience and the way, your body can recover doing that every day. Some great cell regeneration there,
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
So what brought you down here to Nashville?
I was, just coming up on graduating high school and trying to figure out what I was going to do career-wise. Had no clue. I was playing. I've been making music since I was 5 years old.
Okay.
And so, was making music, recording music, putting out cassette tapes to friends and family. And so my like family physician at the time was like, hey, you should check out this school in Nashville called Belmont, and wasn't on anyone in my family's radar. But we came down and checked it out. And I ended up applying and auditioning at the music school at Belmont along with maybe 5 other schools. There was like a school up in Ohio called Otterbein that was really kind of esoteric and had a cool composition program there that I had thought about. And there was a school in Indiana called Anderson, and one out in Berkeley out in Boston was another big music school. And ended up just landing here in Nashville, just really enjoying, how, I guess at the time, like Belmont just felt really cozy. Nashville felt really cozy. It was, kind of small, sleepy town with big city amenities.
Yeah.
So I ended up here and went to the music school and graduated, after 5 years, 3 years in music school. And then I switched over to business the last couple years. And then I worked at a major for about 5 years after school. So I worked in and around music full time, essentially the whole time I went to school, and then for 5 years after at this major label called Black River Entertainment, and was pretty much living on the road. I mean, I was either out playing with one of my groups that I was writing and releasing under, or I was tour managing an artist at the label. So yeah, I was on the road from about 2008 to 2016, something like that.
When did you meet Crystal?
Yeah.
I feel like that's normally like that. When did you stop being on the road? You met a girl and you're like, oh, this is not sustainable to be a normal person.
And she's so great. That probably would have remained sustainable. I think we would have been able to make that work. It was like when we had kids, I was like, okay, this is not sustainable. But we met in 2009.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So kind of at the beginning of the time I was doing a lot of touring. So yeah, that was working, you know, pretty well. And then of course, with kids, I'm like, okay, I got to be in town more. Yeah. And I got to get out of the music industry and start, supporting myself and now someone else that's coming into the world. So,
how did you make the jump to real estate? Yeah.
One of my still closest friends and one of my first friends in Nashville was a guy named John Hendon, who's, I don't know, maybe 10 years older than I am. And he and I met in a studio just doing some co-writes. And so we had written some songs together. And he was a licensed broker at that time. He still is. And I just kind of just really grown to admire his kind of work-life balance and how he was able to maintain, his close relationships at a high level and keep a lot of intimacy with his friends and, really solid relationships. And it just seemed like, I was like, whatever this guy's doing, it seems intriguing. So I kind of had that as a reference point as maybe something else I could do other than just music, because he still had a foot in music, even though he was doing that and had this great social life. And so I was like, logged it then that was probably back in 2006. And so as soon as we found out we were having kids, it was interesting. Like we were planning on have kids at some point. When it happened, it wasn't like now's the time. It just kind of, happened for us. And at that time, like I was really kind of on this upward trajectory with a dance pop group called Kind that my buddy Scott Sharrock and I still release music under every once in a while. We've got some we're sitting on we need to put out.
Oh, cool.
But at the time we were on tour with this band from New York called St. Lucia.
Oh yeah.
And we were playing, like 1,500 cap rooms every night, and it was It was fun.
That's fun.
We were getting looks from labels, and you know, people were in the crowd singing lyrics to our songs, and so it was interesting timing to at the time I was like, kids now, like, oh no.
Yeah.
But retrospectively, it was like the perfect time to have kids, and I'm so thankful for when it happened. But that was the time to pull off the road, and it was hard to get off the road because that was all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
I
A
mean,
lot of life changes all at once.
Yeah.
you also had probably worked for, I mean, like, to get to a place in which you're playing to that size room, you don't usually start at that size room. You pay some dues and everything.
Yeah,
You play to some empty room. You play to some bartenders, and you know,
absolutely.
to be able to actually play to those sides of rooms and people care. I would find it hard to want to not stay in that energy or want to keep coming back to it.
Yeah, it was definitely, just one of the most like emotionally turbulent times that I've experienced of like trying to just process all of what was happening. And, you know, I'm so limited as a human, like so much of it is out of my control.
Yeah.
And then like the little bits that feel like you have control over are starting to break apart too. So,
Yep.
But all good things.
Whenever you realize you're going to become a father, and then you're like, oh, what type of dad am I going to be? Like, I feel like your kid basically just constantly teaches you what you didn't know about yourself.
Man.
Kind of.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Or what you've forgotten.
Yes.
And yeah, that's been really cool. Cause I think, so much of, you know, being a parent and becoming a parent is like very instinctual. It's like, I think it's very common. And I had the same concern, like before before Dahlia was born. It was just like, how am I going to do this? Like I have zero training. And then like keeping them alive, you know, it's very instinctual. And then as they get, you know, as they're developing and are able to interact a little bit more articulately back with you, then you start to kind of like, then they're showing this mirror to you of like, this is what kind of parent you are.
Yeah.
And you're starting to get that feedback. And I think that's when, you know, it becomes even more critical then, because then it's like, okay, you're starting to get some feedback.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, Crystal, my wife, is a trained master's level social worker.
Yeah.
And so when she went full-time mom, when Madhu was born, so she's been full-time mom for about 4 years. And so she, you know, let go of maybe 25 cases that she was working on.
Yeah.
And her caseload was now just all at home. And so she really started to kind of like observe, all right, what's working here and what's not working here.
Yeah.
Which amazing. I'm so thankful that she has the skill set and the gifts to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so that really made for a really great year this past year, really challenging year, but a really great year because so we had our 10-year wedding anniversary in September, and the 2 months prior to that, we actually lived separately. So Crystal and I, we had a rental. We have a couple rental houses that we lease to long-term tenants, and we had one become vacant, and she kind of she spearheaded this opportunity of like, hey, like let's take a couple months, live separately, like really do some deep dives and think about all the things that have been serving our relationship and all the things that haven't. Yeah. And really lifting up the things that have and like working on the things that haven't, and with our relationship and just how we're parenting our kids too.
Sure.
And that was, so yeah, it's been like a really challenging, but just like one of the biggest years development wise for us now. And a lot of that has just been like our kids getting to the age where we're getting, I don't know, we're receiving feedback based on like how, you know, if our kids are trying to kind of explore more of their realm and like expand some of their freedoms, and it's like pushing against, you know, some things that you're trying to decide how to react and how to discipline, and the reference point from that is like however you were parented when you were little. So it's like just really going marrow deep on like why I'm react the way I do and why I say the things I say, and thinking, really intently about how those things can be shaped and improved a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
I think I had a friend tell me that they didn't know they had anger issues until they became a parent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't feel like maybe I felt it or something like that. But like parenting has so many opportunities of, you're sitting there like, hey, we're at this table. Don't touch this. Don't do this. And then they immediately do. And you're just like, I literally just said it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I'm mad. I'm legitimately mad. Why? Well, you had no control over that situation. How does it make you feel? It makes me want to take control.
Yeah.
It makes me want to be like, no, I'm going to exert my control. I'm going to find my control because I'm keeping you safe.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just more your perspective than reality.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there are all these little like miniature ways to experience power and control, with having kids. And I was thinking about that recently. We're all, it's just how life is. Like we're all just trying to control much of the space, like within us and our internal self and like around us as possible. And it can be shown through examples just with your kids at the dinner table, or it can be seen with just control of space in the wars that are happening, Russia, Ukraine, Gaza, Israel. It's all about space and like controlling that space. So whether it's on a big scale like that or like it's in your household, like everyone wants to maintain as much control over their space as they can. Yeah. And so when those, in the family dynamic, it's learning how to respect, each have your own space and respect the space between and share that.
But also know that your kids wanted to kind of piss each other off
the
first chance they get.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's one of my favorite. Like,
that's love, man. That's love.
Yeah, no way. At our table, we have like a bench on one side, and sometimes all three of them will want to sit on just one side of the bench. And every single time, it's just like weird skirmishes of just like, but his arm's right here. And I'm like, how would he know that this is your, like, you're spread out. You're everywhere. Like, how is it? So, what? Come on. Like, oh, how many times you just have to take a deep breath and realize that your tone is really crappy whenever you're talking to your kids and trying to figure out how to reset.
Yeah.
While also they still haven't changed their habits, but you need to change yours.
Yeah.
It's not very fun sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've, a couple things that I've integrated recently is just simple things like breathing, 4 counts in, 6 counts out. If I feel myself, ramping up and feeling irritated, like that's huge for your physiological state.
Yep.
And then, a big thing for me this past year was learning how to redirect. I would just like critique a lot, like with my kids and my wife. And it wasn't like overt, like name calling where I'm like belittling necessarily as much as just like, just pointing things out and like, why is this happening? Yeah. Just like commenting and critiquing. Cause that was how I grew up too. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, that was what was normal for me.
Yep.
And so kind of really, and that was also a reflection of like what my internal dialogue was going on too. I'm just like constantly critiquing myself. And so I think it was Peter Attia had this cool tactic that one of his therapists had used to work with him, where as soon as anytime he caught himself critiquing himself, he would actually like record a voice memo of as if he were speaking to one of his close friends. And so it would often like soften like what he was saying to himself as if he were, saying it to one of his close friends. And then if you play that back, your subconscious is hearing yourself say that back to you, and just creates this like, it corrects the negative loop and turns into a positive loop. And that's really helped quite a bit.
Like once you hear it said out loud, you're like, oh, I actually don't believe that.
Yeah.
There's some truth there, but oh man, I'm hearing the negative a lot more strongly than what I'm actually trying to tell myself here.
Yeah. And you're recording the positive version. Cool. And so you're playing the positive version back to yourself. And then that's what's,
because you're not so harsh if you're talking to a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I gotcha. Cool.
And it softens the blow a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's been a fun exercise to work on. It's helped a lot.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're much of a perfectionist?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, just learning how to, acknowledge that it's still there, but like that's actually, I've kind of integrated that into my like morning affirmations. Like I am not my perfectionism is like something I'll repeat to myself 5 times in the morning, and, it's, I think it's still great to strive for things to be better and always be working on, a new and improved version of whatever that is, but you have to let go of it being perfect.
I'm a big believer of, it's kind of like a Richard Rohr Enneagram thing of when you walk into a room, there's some form of validation you're looking for in that room. And if you can acknowledge it to yourself beforehand, it'll make a lot of difference. So like, I need, like most of the times I try to be unique or special in every room that I walk into. So if I can tell myself before going into a room, hey man, you're still valuable, even if you're saying the same thing that everyone else is saying, then it'll like reset myself a lot. Yeah. Whereas like my natural inertia is to go in and be like, okay, everyone's saying one thing. How do I say something that's different than everyone else? Because I want to stand out. I want to feel special to everyone. And it's like, or you can just go in and be like, hey, that's cool. Tell me more. And not like, don't walk in, like just be aware of what validation and needs you need to get met into a room, because you might lead with it and not realize you're doing it. And then you miss out on the opportunity to connect and actually get to know someone. Yeah,
that's so true. I struggle that I resonate with that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is, just really integrated into our culture too, of like being unique and standing out is rewarded a lot, in our culture. And I think there's, I've heard the term a lot of like this, like an industrial rat race where you're like there's like a, this methodology of becoming financially independent and getting out of this rat race. But I also think that there's this social rat race that needs to be recognized, and just that's really deteriorated everyone, or my sense, and I assume a lot of other people's sense of just, given self-worth. And so you're constantly having to work on your self-esteem to get back up to, feeling worthy, even though you're just innately worthy for being alive and
because
here on
you
earth.
exist. Because you exist, you're worthy of love.
Yeah.
And I've probably said this before in this podcast. I'm a big believer also of like, you are very much worth loving. Not every version of you is easy to love, though. So can you find a way to be the version of you that's a little bit easier to love, and know that even whenever you're at your, like, the version of me that is the worst is as worthy of love as the version of me that's at my best.
Yeah.
So maybe, but also at the same time, maybe lean more into the good version of you, because that's a lot easier to love. Just be aware of that.
That's great. And I do think what's been cool is, like, I was telling you about this season of a lot of self deep dives this past year, and it really does translate into, it's translated into, being more gentle in my household with myself, and then, with my kids and my wife, and just, and that's not like, I wasn't like physically abusing anyone, but just like, more like the energy is like more gentle energy, like I wasn't on edge as much, and like, so that's been really helpful. Yeah, I think the effort that you put into yourself in those areas, like, just translates in such a great way.
Yeah. Are you able to meditate on a daily basis? Do you do stuff like that?
No, not on a daily basis.
It's really hard to do it daily.
Yeah, I think I probably get it in 4 days a week.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll wake up. I'm definitely a morning person.
Okay.
And like, our whole family is kind of on the same circadian rhythm. Like, we're all crashing around between 8:30 and 9:30 every night, and then everyone's waking up everyone's going to sleep within an hour of each other and waking up within an hour of each other typically. So everyone's waking up at 6 kind of thing. And about 4 times a week, I'll wake up at 4:30. Just, I don't know, something pulls me out of bed.
What your body's doing to you.
And those are the days that, I'll
cool.
spend some time reading, meditating, doing some affirmations. And those days, man, all the difference in the world, getting time in the morning to do that stuff.
Yeah. Well, you can combine, so this is what I kind of do. I combined my shower with breathing exercises and a little bit of meditation all at once.
Oh, really?
So I don't, because I find it really hard to be able to do all 3 of those things before I have to get ready for work. So do the hot shower, breathing exercises, and a little bit of meditation, and then I turn it to cold water.
Oh, really?
And then I'm in there for like 3 minutes, and then I'm out, and I am wide awake.
Cool.
That's incredible, man. That's efficient.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to. With so much stuff going on, and I wake up usually around 5 o'clock, and I try to be out the door between 6 and 6:30 because I got to be at work at 7. And then the rest of the day is work, come pick up Ada, it's dinner, put her to bed, and then
You're falling asleep on the couch by 9.
I'm falling asleep in the bed at like 7:30, 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
whenever we put her down. So
Yeah.
I don't have any time during the day or evening, so I've got to fit it in that half an hour to an hour.
Yeah, I think it was maybe Brandon Bouchard that had this one way to kind of get it in throughout the day is just these 2-minute transitions in between everything that you're doing. So whether it's like in between meetings or appointments or, you know, before you go to lunch or before you go to the bathroom, just taking 2 minutes and kind of doing a mini session there again, little mini meditation or kind of visualizing what's coming next.
Yeah.
And, you know, that might end up adding up to another 10 or 20 minutes of that state throughout the day, which can
Interesting.
be helpful.
Yeah, I do the box breathing,
Yeah, man.
and then Andrew Huberman talked about taking in like 3 deep breaths, but when you take in those deep breaths, go for a little bit more because
Like
you
a
always
six.
have yeah, and that right there just kind of eases and calms you down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you guys ever noticed, like, I don't remember, I know how your kids are younger. Are your kids younger?
My kid is 2.
Too, yeah. So a lot of times when children are young at that age and they're kind of having a fit and losing it, like when they're starting to kind of calm down, like they'll take breaths like that just naturally, like they're like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
they'll
they do.
get
Yeah,
those
yeah.
extra sips, and
Yeah.
so like I think that's part of that that like method of breathing where you're getting those extra
Yeah.
sips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ada is probably too young for it, but whenever she does lose control, I'm just like, baby, breathe.
Yeah.
And I'll just go, and then she'll just kind of look at me for a little bit, and sometimes she will actually calm down.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she's actually breathing or just like,
We're just laughing at you.
yeah, or just laughing at me on the inside, but it sometimes works.
You know what?
Yeah.
Well, I think, Justin, kind of what you're alluding to by learning how to do all of that in the shower is a lot of times once you actually start your day, you don't know what your day has in store for it until you get home. And
Yeah.
even then when you get home, it's like, okay, well, wait, is dinner, like, do I need help out with dinner? Do I need help out with the kid? Like, but by the time you like leave the door and then you're kind of like, all right, 12 hours from now, who the hell knows what happens in the next 12 hours? So you have like an hour, hopefully, to take a shower, get ready for the day, and then like your life happens basically.
Yeah, amen. That is it.
That sucks though. I mean, like I think it's a reality of being an adult and having kids and everything that you find little gaps of your day where you can to think about yourself, care about yourself.
Yeah.
But
And
the
you got to
reality,
be as efficient as possible with
you
that
kind of
time.
do. So
Yeah, because you want to devote as much time as you can to your kid. When your kid is awake and you are awake, you want to be with them and you want to engage with them.
Yeah.
yeah,
So everything else that's in your life that you wanted to do for yourself, you got to find time for it.
Well, I mean, I know for myself, whenever I hear myself having a harsher tone or feeling like I'm being a jerk to my kids, I like immediately go into like, all right, I need to problem solve this. Like, what's the thing that makes it like so I'm not such a jerk to my family? And yeah, I feel like it is meditation or just like taking a second to breathe is normally what does it. And some days it's hard to feel like you can actually like find those gaps of time. But I would like to think most people, whenever they hear themselves being a jerk, stop and are like, I can't be this person again. Like I gotta wise up in some ways.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think it takes definitely takes a lot of effort, even to just kind of like be able to recognize it's happening and pump the brakes. And
it's funny that kids are one of the main reasons why you start to look internally at yourself.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that they are the ones that usually are the catalyst for that.
Yeah, no, if I was like, hey, go, Devin, go do this for yourself to be a better person, I'm like, meh, I'm good. Your kids are watching me every day. All right, I should probably tighten some stuff up.
Yeah, the stakes are.
I don't want to ruin my kid's life,
or at least not in this way. In other ways, yeah, absolutely. But
yeah, I think there's I think that's one of the really cool things about having kids, and I think it's kind of branded as a misconception where you lose a lot of. I think the conception is you lose a lot of freedom, like when you have kids. I think there's so many places to gain freedom from having kids, and like this is an example to where like you're really like kind of forced into learning more about yourself and like why you behave and say the things you do.
Yeah.
And there's this opportunity to like free yourself of all these things that you've become and like enslaved to, like just throughout your life. And I think one of the other like ways it's so freeing is like until you have, or at least for me, like until I had kids, I was just like, I was just living self-servingly. It's just like, just got to take care of myself. And that was, there's really not.
Now I'll take care of my wife. This will be fine.
Yeah. And that's, in retrospect, it seemed easygoing, compared to now with kids. But there's a freedom in that to where like the spotlight is not on you anymore and it's shining on them. And so it's like I feel like I'm not having to like perform. And I know that it could be literally for me because I was literally on stage performing, but like I'm just not having to perform in all these other contexts as well because it's like I'm just focused on my kids and like, so I think there's some freedom that comes with that as well. Yeah.
I think the metric of time and how you use time changes so drastically differently whenever you have kids. And that's where people feel stifled, I guess. Because, like, in reality, like, if Heather and I want to go out on a date, like, we have to find someone, have a sitter. Like, there's, like, and then, like, in your head, you're like, okay, cool, we're paying the sitter by the hour. We should only be gone for, like, 2 hours. Because that way sometimes the sitter costs more than the date, Yeah. So, like, you just evaluate time differently. But I do think that's something from, like, the first 2 years of having a kid where, like, your ego and your identity gets, like, stripped and destroyed, like, every single freaking day. So by the time you have the opportunity, your kid's, like, 3 or 4, and you have the chance to actually, like, rebuild yourself in some sense, you're like, oh, cool. I'm different than I was before. Cool. Yeah. Who do I want to be? How do I want to include my kids? How do I want to include my family? And you, like, almost like build yourself up to be the way you felt like you should have been built before.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think especially like in the midst of it, it feels like a complete, like new you when, after that dust kind of settles, it's probably just, a couple of degrees of shift that have happened, but I mean, monumental, outcomes from those shifts. Yeah, man, it's a good season. It's a good trying season.
It is. Anyway, Gabe, how we end our episodes, we ask the same guests the same 5 questions.
Beautiful.
Every time. Justin, well, that's the first one.
Yeah. All right. Did you have any backup names for your 2 kids?
I don't think we did. Dahlia,
there are some that happened.
Well, I'll tell you what, actually... Yeah, I'm trying to remember if Maudley was it wasn't a backup name. It was just Dahlia was our first, and one of the big references was Salvador Dali.
Yeah.
And we were like, Dali could be a cool first name. And then my wife was like, no, let's like make it Dahlia.
Yeah.
And what's cool is she's actually like, we haven't told her about Salvador Dali, and she wouldn't care who that was at this point anyway, but she is so into visual arts. Like she's always painting and drawing and like dialed in. Like it's really, I think that's going to be part of what she does. Like even if it's just a hobby, I just see her always, she just loves it.
Yeah.
She's always having me like print off, all these coloring pages, like just to go to town. And
that's great.
So that was kind of how some of the inspo for her name. And then Maudley, I think Maudley was like a name that we started kind of developing when Crystal got pregnant a second time, and we were like, Maudley, like no matter if it's boy or girl, like, I think we're going Maudley. Like,
is it spelled Modley. Okay.
Yeah. And so Doll and Maud are like, they're short for Crystal and I. Doll and Maud, we'll call them Doll and Maud.
That's cute.
But I don't think we had backup names. I think it was just, I was like, that works.
You knew what you wanted.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll ever, like, if someone yells out Maudley, it won't be a different one, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never find his name at a gas station. Like keychain.
Oh, I don't know.
So maybe one day.
Maybe.
That'll be his career, creating Maudley name text. Next question. Do you have a favorite TV dad?
Favorite TV dad? Oh, man. I have two. I'm trying to narrow down.
You can say both.
And I haven't watched a whole lot of TV. So there's only 3 shows that I've ever watched from start to finish.
Okay.
And they were Sopranos, Frasier, and Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks. What is that one?
It's like a David Lynch early 90s like murder mystery.
And
it is as weird as you can possibly get.
And so as limited as my TV watching is, like there's things that I pull from the two like from Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
Like there's like obviously like there's a lot that goes wrong with who he is as an individual and as a dad, but there's like these elements of just like confidence and assuredness that I feel like I pull from him, where if I'm ever like thinking, you know, shit's really hitting the fan, I just pull from that courage that he displayed. And then like the dad in Frasier, like who's not in they just came out back with like a resurgence. That guy had since passed away, that actor. But just his lightheartedness, like just that guy's smile. I'm just like, those are my 2 favorites out of the 3 shows that I've ever watched.
Right. I don't think there's a lot of father figures in Twin Peaks or dads.
I don't think there's any. Yeah, that when I think about it, no,
I
can't think of a dad role in that.
I mean, I think
show.
the murdered child has a dad, but he kind of goes insane the entire show or entire season. So
yeah,
that's about it.
Okay. All right. Third question. Least favorite kids show or movie? One that just drives you insane that your kids love to watch.
Yeah, there's this show on YouTube, which I know is sort of faux pas to like let your kids watch YouTube, but
it's a dangerous world.
We've always got our ear to the background to kind of, you know, making sure it's sounding okay. But there's this show that I think it's like a Ukrainian family that lives in the States, and their kids, I can't even.
Is it like Natalia? Maybe. Someone else has said this one before.
Okay, so it's like their 2 kids, Natalia and her brother.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just blows my mind that, like, our kids just gravitate toward these shows that are just, like, produced in these people, like, homemade shows. And so, like, the production value is just so low. And the writing, you know.
If you can call it writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a cartoon or is it?
It's not. It's live action, but I'm just like, I mean.
Is it The Curious Case of Natalia Grace?
I don't think so.
No, that's a documentary.
But I just, man, I'm like, don't you guys want to watch like Rugrats or something?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, YouTube, it's not that it scares me. It's that even whenever you type in something into the search engine, like the things that pop up, I feel like kids immediately like, what's that? And you're like, didn't think I was going to have this conversation today. All right.
Yeah.
Like, let's do a Cosmic Kids Yoga. Oh my God, what popped up next to Cosmic Kids Yoga? Dad, what's that?
Right.
You didn't see it. I didn't
Cover
see it.
your
Let's
eyes.
just keep moving.
Cover your eyes now.
Cosmic Kid Yoga is great, though.
It is. We do that one a lot. Next question. Favorite kids toy? Like, whenever your kid plays with it, you also enjoy playing with it also.
Yeah. Surprising to me, Dahlia got into these LOL.
Yeah. Those doll
toys,
things. Yeah.
And I was kind of vibing on it. Like, at first, I was like, wow, these things are really small. I feel like they're going to get lost, like, in all the, like, HVAC registers and things. But then I was like, you know, I was down on the floor playing it with her, and I was like, actually, the design is really cool on this stuff. And, like, the interchangeability of, like, the outfits that you can swap out, and they have all these cool little props, like little boom boxes, and I kind of got into it. I was role playing. I was down there role playing.
You're making your own characters up with them.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
What about Modley? Does he anything? Or I feel like whenever someone has a son, it's like we just run around outside.
Yeah, Modley got really into trains, like to the point where we were kind of concerned, like is this too much love for trains? Yeah. Like I mean, it's a pretty harmless thing, but like I mean, it's all he wanted to watch. He would, and I think the thing that kind of weirded me out was like the level of detail that he started playing with the trains, where he would lay on his side on the floor and just like stare forward in one spot and just like interact with the train, like with this peripheral vision, and then like have a moment where it got in his forefront, and then he'd like watch it just peripherally, like leave his field of vision.
There was trains and there was trains and then there were trains.
Yeah. But he would just like stare in one spot forward. I was like, that's kind of interesting, and I'm a little spooked.
Yeah.
But he was making his own little movie.
But he had he's got the whole wooden train set that'll sprawl around the living room and kitchen every once in a while. That is pretty fun to set up.
That is.
If he continues to love trains, you guys should get a train set that goes around the Christmas tree.
Oh, I don't know how we haven't. You're right.
My friend had one of those, I can't, like steam power or whatever it was. And I was like, man, that's actually really cool. Really expensive, but really cool.
The special effects, the steam, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds sweet.
All right. Next question. What moment of your kid's life are you most excited to be a part of? And you can have both.
Yeah. I'm excited to like be able to experience a lot of the same like physical adventure situations. Like I really want to go trail running, like with my kids. I really enjoy trail running a lot, and they've dabbled in it now, but I mean we're going like 100 yards and they're tapping out. So to kind of like explore some state parks in that regard, and skiing, like I really want to get my kids on skis. Trying to make that happen this year, at least with Dahlia.
Where are you guys planning on going?
I've got, last year I had this trip kind of queued up in the shopping cart that we didn't pull the trigger on, up to like Montreal, and there's this little ski town outside of Montreal. I think it's like LeBlanc something, or Mount Tremblant is the mountain town, Mount Tremblant. So that could be really cool. I've kind of eyeing that for this year. But yeah, just like those experiences where they're kind of growing into their body a little bit more, and we're able to like get after a little bit on the adventure scene. I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome.
That would be an insane first skiing trip. Some people go to like Paoli Peaks in southern Indiana. Other people go straight to Canada.
I'm not even like that great of a skier, but I just think like.
But your confidence level is.
I guess so. Maybe that's the issue.
Well, Gabe, if anyone wants to like follow you on Instagram, like what's your Instagram handle? If they need a real estate agent, promote yourself.
Oh, okay. So yeah, real estate wise, it's at dojo.mod. So dojo mod is kind of my personal brand. It dojo means the pursuit, or it can also mean a place, the Japanese origins of that word. And then mod is like modern. So the modern pursuit of a place. And not that I'm like have some cutting edge like way of doing real estate, but it's more of just like modern, like being here in the now and just present with that person. And that's another reason why I just haven't like tried to scale it or build out this big team. I just really enjoy like being present and intentional with everyone that I'm working with. And so that's kind of the full circleness of that whole brand and experience. And then my other Instagram handle is Dance to Yabe. So a nickname that had carried through all of my musical projects through the years. People would just call me Yabe. And so I just kind of rolled with that for my like production name nowadays. Cool. And yeah, I've been producing just dance music for like the last 7 years, and releasing it under Yabe. So Dance to Yabe is the
okay.
And don't you like DJ sometimes, don't you?
Yeah. So it's been fun. I guess it is very fun. It's becoming less fun. It's such a bummer for me being a dad, and just like that live music is almost exclusively experienced late at night. Like I'm so ready for the 10 a.m. show, man. Like give me tickets to the 10 a.m. show. I'm there. And I'm still like, because I'm still interacting and cranking music, at all times of day. Like I don't have to go see it late at night. And so with the DJ thing, it's an even later crowd, a lot of those shows aren't starting until 10 or 11 at night. Yeah. And I'm good. Yeah. Dude, they're like, can you play from like midnight to 2 a.m.? And I'm like, yeah, thanks for calling me and putting me with this sweet DJ that I love out of Berlin. Like, I'm totally going to do it. But then, like, even if I'm not like drinking, it's just going to bed that late. I'm just wrecked for like 2 or 3 days, man.
Yep. Start a revolution, man. Start a revolution for dads and parents out there. 10 a.m.
10 a.m. rock show.
Morning sessions. I'm ready for it.
Do it.
Well, Gabe, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks, man.
Guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Nice.
Thanks. Thanks again for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Nashville Dads and to subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify podcast. We record at New Light Podcast Studio, and episodes are produced by me, Devin.